So I'm teaching the principles of new media online. I've taught it as a hybrid class, which was in class and then part of it was online, and now I'm doing fully online classes. And it's great because the class teaches you about new media tools, so you're learning about blogs and wikis and social networking sites. So what better way to learn about it than to actually use it? And since we're using it, it's a good online tool because it's all online. So it's actually, the students can interact with each other online in new media and learn about new media the same way. We have a wiki page, and they work collaboratively, the students work collaboratively to update and edit this wiki page. And so we do wiki, we use blogs, and every week they have blog assignments. And they also comment on each other's blogs, so it's another tool. We also have, during the semester when we learn about social networking sites, we have a Twitter conversation. And everyone has a Twitter account, they follow each other, and they discuss things through Twitter and have to reply to other people. Huh. We also use Blackboard for discussion board for some topics. I have office hours by appointment, so I've been meeting, especially in the beginning of the semester. I find students come more so than the end because they're scared of it and they don't know what to do. But so I've had a couple of students come to my office hours. Otherwise, the final is in class. An example of a wiki that you're probably familiar with is Wikipedia, and that's what I say because hopefully everyone's heard of Wikipedia. But what people don't know, what at least some of my students don't realize, is anyone can edit Wikipedia. So it's a collaborative tool. So just like there's Wikipedia out there, we have our own wiki page using MediaWiki, and and the collaborative work that we do is on new media, since that's what the class is about. So we have different topics. So for example, if you're interested in sports, you can edit the page on new media and sports. So one student goes and edits and writes things, and another student can also edit the same exact page. So I don't mind if a few people are working on the same page, because I can see exactly what each contributed, and in the end we have this repository of good information. And not only that, they're working on things that other semesters have worked on. So next semester, people who are interested in sports can work. I let them work on the same page that the previous semesters have done, and they've been editing it. So in the end, you end up with this great page of information that in the class we have a term paper. And I found some students have told me that when they're writing their term paper, they like to go on the wiki page as an our class wiki page in order to get sources and information about the topic because they find it so helpful. Everything is assigned point value. So, and I've been playing with it every semester. I change it. This semester I've made the final 30% and everything else 70%. So every blog assignments, if they're usually around 3 points, if they ask, they're substantial, I give them 3 points for each one. But if it's just asking something like tell me about your term paper project or something general, then I'll give 1 point. So I assign point values based on how hard the assignment is versus how easy it is. The wiki at the end is 10-point assignment, term paper is 10-point assignment, and so I based on how complicated the task is, I give them a point value that I feel. And of course I modify it. So if creating a blog might be 1 point, but blog entries will be more, and it's based on how and whether is this yes or no, you just did it or didn't do it, versus did you actually write something that makes sense. Right. We have an in-class final exam, which I try to do everything. So there's long answers, short answers, a couple of multiple choice questions, and again that has changed, but I try to make sure I can really see if they know the work, because since we don't see each other in class and we don't have quizzes along the way, I want to make sure that they've really been the ones doing the work and really understand what they've been doing all semester. So I want to get that across in as many ways as possible. And long answer questions, I feel, gives me the most information. There's a way to view each user's contributions. So when I grade, I don't look at the page because I don't know who did what. I'll look at the user's contributions, and I can see exactly how the page looked before and what they edited and how it looks now. So I just grade them on their own contributions. I started using actually Turnitin.com for the term paper, and this way I can see exactly if anything is plagiarized from a site or from someone else, because it has it all there. So I feel like that's a very good tool, and so I started using that. I think you have that problem. It's going to be the same in any class. How do you know if you're teaching a programming class? How do you know if someone gives you an assignment? How do you know they did it? And when I was teaching C++ programming, I did get 2 papers that were exactly identical. So whether or not someone is doing their own work, I think you have that in every class, and you have to look out for that. Yes, you probably have that in this type of class too, because someone can go and see someone else's blog, but I think you have that in any class, and you just have to work with it, which is why I'm using Turnitin. The truth is I haven't had an issue with it, and the students seem interested, and they like the class, they're enjoying the class, and I haven't had a problem with this class with that. I guess one thing is feedback. I've tried to give more feedback along the way now, because I think sometimes the students, I mean, if they're doing fine, I don't, but if they're not doing fine, it's harder when you're not in class to really talk to them about it. And I try to, if anyone gets any points off, I'll send them an email, say, this is why you've gotten points off. And I'll talk to them about it. And I think I need to start maybe giving more feedback to people who've been doing fine. If they're doing fine, I usually say, okay, they're fine, and I focus more on the people who aren't doing as well. I think the other challenge is, since it is a class, having discussion. So the one thing you're missing is an in-class discussion. In-class discussion is interesting because you hear everyone's different viewpoints. And so one of the things I've tried to do online is to try to mimic this, and that's why it's through these online tools, whether it's discussions through Blackboard or through Twitter or even kind of through blogs. I'm trying to mimic some type of environment where they can interact with each other, because you are missing, if you're just doing your own work, you're missing about hearing other people's viewpoints. I actually think it does, because in my experience I've found that shy people are the exact opposite online. Like, they could be really shy in class, or a really shy person even amongst friends, but when it comes online, all of a sudden these shy people are, you don't know where they've been, they start chatting all the time. One thing I think is important to do is, even in a regular class, let's say even if, and I'm talking about computer programming since since that's what I also teach, but in that type of class, why not have an online discussion in addition, just because you need to get the quiet people too. So even in a regular class, you have the same 5 people. You're giving a class, and you always see the same 5 people talking, and the same 5 people who will never talk. And maybe they're quiet, maybe it's a language barrier. And one way I think would be really valuable for them would be, even in that type of class, have an online discussion, so that this way you're reaching all the students, you're reaching the shy students, and you're reaching the outgoing students who are participating. The best one is the obvious one, that you can do it from anywhere. I mean, it is a lot of work in the beginning because you're preparing it. Once the class is already set up and you've done it, then it ends up you're saving the time on actually commuting there. But it can be done. It's actually good. You have to be focused. You have to check your email more often if you're doing an online class, because that's how they're speaking to you. Actually, it reminds me of an interesting point. One of the students and we had he wanted to come to office hours. And for some reason, anytime we tried to schedule it, then he couldn't make it, or then the college was closed and we didn't realize, because we're not following, we don't need to know when the college is closed. So at one point I said, you know what, this is a new media class, let's just go on Skype. And he had never used Skype before, so he downloaded Skype, and we had our conversation through Skype, and he said, oh, this is his first time on it. And I felt so proud, because, well, that's great, because that's how you're supposed to be learning about these new tools. And I think it gives you the flexibility, having this online class gives you the flexibility of saying, well, let's have a Skype discussion, let's have an IM discussion if it's not working out. And we also have our office hours where we can meet up. Yeah, well, a lot of my students actually work in the day, and they take my class because that's the only class they can take it. I guess there's classes you could take at night, but if you're working in the day full time, it makes it so much easier, because they can do their work at like 3 in the morning. So I'll get emails at interesting times, and they have interesting schedules, and that's why my office hours are flexible in terms of meeting up, because some people can only meet by evening, some people can meet in the day. But in terms of the students, that's the biggest advantage. A lot of them are working. A lot of them will write to me in the beginning of the semester and say that they're working, that's why they wanted to take this class, or they have very full schedules and this fits in. One of the things I found is due dates have to be strictly enforced. If it's sometimes like in a class, you might let it slide more, someone giving in late assignments, but with an online class, at some point they'll just keep falling behind, and there's no class structure. You can't see someone coming to class, so you need a way of making it clear when assignments are due, making sure the students know it at all times. So what I do is I'll keep, even though it's an online class, I'll give assignments the exact same time. Let's say this semester I decided to do Thursday at 5. Everything is due until Thursday at 5 p.m. And I'll purposely choose a day, and then the rest of the semester it's every Thursday. So this way there's a structure in place, and I have an outline online, so they see every week, and I already, before the semester starts, they can see all the homework that's due. They can't say, oh, I didn't realize there was homework. What do you mean you didn't realize? Every Thursday there's homework. And so I think it's good to have a structure in place where the students know exactly what's expected of them, and then not to let them fall behind. Make sure they don't fall behind, because at some point there's, what's your class? If the student's not doing anything. It's interesting. You don't recognize them. I mean, they have their photos on their profiles, but it's harder to recognize. They look very different in real life. So it's funny, because at the final exam last semester, it was like, oh, wow. So in terms of, and then there were the students who did come to my office hours, and I did get to know them better because we saw each other. So I guess we don't know each other as well. It depends, and then maybe that depends on the student, because some of them will email me a lot and tell me what's going on and talk to me, especially if they have an issue, so they can't do their homework on time because something's going on with the family, and then we'll have more conversation. Or students who've showed up to my office hours, we've had more chit-chat. But yeah, in terms of, it's hard to really get to know someone as well when you don't recognize them walking down the halls in school. So we tried to have profiles, and I tried to do actually some video lectures, so they probably recognize me better than I can recognize them. But you do get to know them, because I purposely, one of the first assignments is on Blackboard. They introduce themselves to each other, and they have to respond to a few different people. And we have they have to do their homepage, a profile page, and on the wiki they have to do a profile page and write their hobbies and some things about themselves. I try to get us all to know each other. I'm not sure if it's the same as you're sitting and that person's next to you every single day.
Yeah.